What if thriving wasn't about getting life perfect?
but learning to find peace and purpose right in the mess.
I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Tom, and we walked away from the version of life that looked right to build one that feels alive.
We'll talk about the beauty and the struggle, from parenting and marriage to faith, well-being and travel.
This is The Whole of Us.
Starting these conversations can feel a little awkward.
Yeah, we're working on it, guys.
But I think that actually is a pretty good segue into what we're talking about today, because so often starting a conversation can feel challenging.
Totally. I noticed when we got back, especially the first year we did overseas, and it was basically all non-English speaking countries, and we just had each other basically to talk to. And I just didn't even, I forgot how to do it, how to do the small talk.
Yeah. The little kind of back and forth that gets you into a deeper conversation.
And it's actually really important. I think for a long time, I've said I like to go deep. I like to understand I don't want to do the small talk thing, but it's glue to relationships.
Absolutely. It's like it's building the emotional safety to actually go deeper.
Right.
It's kind of that little back and forth. It's like if you, I'm trying to think of a nice analogy here. But like if you were to go and run a marathon straight off the bench, you'd be cooked. Like you'd probably hurt yourself. But if you do some training and then you build up and you go back a little bit further and go a bit further and go a bit more, you can actually, you build up the resilience for it.
Yeah, I guess so. That's not bad. Not a bad analogy. I don't feel like it's perfect.
I'm going to say it hasn't quite landed in my brain either, but
I feel what you're saying, because we've been talking together a lot about the difference between an independent sort of framework and life versus community driven. And independence, because we look at the people around us and ourselves included who are working online and in social media spaces, and how difficult it then is.
It's so interesting looking at the way that we're living now and just trying to, I guess, reframe it a little bit and even reframe it in light of what we have been doing with having been traveling and you working in the social media space and then coming back and doing life in one spot and looking at the intersection between what does independent life look like, and kind of you see so much presented in social media as the epitome of life is being able to travel the world by yourself and do all these wonderful things and have no one as your boss and that kind of complete
that bubble
independence.
Completely blew for us.
Oh, it
traveling
burst a long time ago.
Yeah, I think it just looks like such a dream, but the reality is it's so lonely.
Totally. And so it's easy to stand in that place and then look at people who are doing normal humdrum community life day in, day out and look at it and go, oh, that's so boring. Like, what's the point? Like, is there
What are you saying? People who are living that independent life? Or do you think it's actually the people who are living the humdrum? I say humdrum with what do you call this?
Quote marks.
Thinking about these people who are like living an independent life.
I think there's probably a duality. There's a grass is greener mentality, probably from both sides.
Yes.
And there's also a I wish I could do that from both sides. Or maybe that looks totally not what I want as well.
A lot of judgment maybe.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I thought it was pretty much the dream. Escape everything, not have to deal with family or friends, not have to not negotiate, but repair and wrestle through relationship. If you're human, you have pain in relationships because that is what it is.
Messy.
Like, totally. And I think part of the immediate blessing of leaving everything and traveling was that it got really quiet.
Yeah.
And it was so nice for a season just to have no voices playing, and not like these voices weren't necessarily bad, but it was just ours. The trouble with that is that the only thing keeping you accountable, or the only thing that is shaping your
frame of reference
is you, unless you're doing a lot of research. But the beauty of relationship and community is to flesh subjects out, to come up against discomfort and have to move through it.
Totally.
We took ourselves basically out of society for a couple of years as we healed and grew, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But it was difficult coming back in because those learnt subconscious even ways of how you show up in a relationship, I felt we were lacking in.
Yeah.
And it's felt really vulnerable and scary to put ourselves out there again. Very different social media, well, whatever, but actually face to face, eye contact, having a relationship with someone is incredibly difficult.
And so today we wanted to sort of talk about that balance between what does independent living look like versus what does community living look like? And I think in another episode, I want to dive into like, what does actual friendship look like, and how do we build friendship? How do we build relationships with people that we love, and what does safe relationship look like?
Yes.
But today we wanted to kind of do a bit of background conversation around those two extremes, independence versus community.
Yeah.
And we've seen both lived out beautifully, but messily, because there's no perfect answer here. We're not made to be independent, and we're also not made to be completely self-sacrificially serving within community and lose all sense of identity.
Totally.
We have to have a sense of internal identity that is independent and autonomous, but that also needs to be grounded in a deeper sense of community and almost a transcendental, greater reality than outside of ourselves. Which I know that's a big word. Yeah, I know. But effectively, it's like, we need something outside of ourselves, bigger than us, to come together with in community to go, we're looking at the collective good here. We're looking at the collective kind of group rather than just me.
Even if we strip it back to just happiness and well-being, the research is very clear that when you're in community and you have strong relationships, your health and overall well-being is much improved. In fact, across the board, really, for mental health, physical health, all of it. Yeah, in 2023 in the US, they actually called it and said this is an epidemic.
Of loneliness.
There's a health crisis for loneliness. They were seeing rates of mental health skyrocket, and that's really common knowledge at this point. I think a lot of people know that loneliness is everywhere. In Australia, 1 in 3 people count themselves as mostly lonely. In the US, it's worse. So it's just, this is not
an isolated thing, or
this isn't even groundbreaking
issue.
Conversation, but I think we've potentially been sold a bit of a lie. And I'm very grateful that we sort of lived out whether like touching that independence part of getting to remove ourselves, work online, have a very insular experience of community, just the 4 of us, other than Zooms and things. And I can tell you, you can be on an incredible beach on the other side of the world and life looks amazing and you can just feel so lonely. So even when we're talking about the online space, which you and I have spent a lot of time on the last few years, we were studying through a course in the US, so a lot of our community was online. I'm just reading something that the online spaces allow identity curation. They reduce nonverbal feedback and make disengagement instant. So the research is saying that technology isn't all bad, but digital interaction lacks the friction that builds relational capacity.
Totally.
And that is actually beautiful.
100%.
I've missed having the repair, having deep conversations with people, having
my viewpoints challenged.
Totally. Coming up against something and then working it out together. I think we've talked about that. When even though we've been traveling and it's been incredible, you really see that the joy in life is spent with people. It's around a dinner table, it's going for a walk, it's meeting at the beach, it's doing life together.
That idea that we've been sold a lie feels so true.
Because we're all working towards this independence. We want, I'm just thinking through affiliate marketing or like, what's it called when you just given money while you're sleeping?
Passive income.
Passive income.
Yes.
We want to be able to travel. We want to create our own boundaries or,
Like, effectively, we're trying to remove responsibility. We're trying to remove commitment and being stuck somewhere, in quotes. We're trying to reduce the friction on our lives to the point where we can just do whatever we want to do.
I mean, I totally get it, though.
When did the idea that my truth or my life just becomes socially acceptable rather than actually having personal responsibility for my life affecting the people around me?
That feels really sad to me. It's like, because it's a worth thing as well. We don't realize that we affect the people around us. Because we're so focused on our internal world and healing, or, we've been in those places for seasons of time where we've just become really insulated and done the work. At some point, though, that's no way to live.
No.
And even when there are boundaries put in or when you've removed yourself for healing season, there's often repair necessary after that.
Yes.
I know for family relationships we've had where we've stepped away for a minute just to figure out our own world and what we as our new family, what family wanted to do. We've had to go after repair, and very imperfectly, and it possibly just takes time. No, it does. It takes time.
So with all this kind of talk of independence, like where does it actually stem from? Because it's interesting having traveled to different cultures around the world, and it's interesting the more westernized the country is, the more there is this strong sense of independent. And it's interesting contrasting that with more Eastern countries, which often have a much greater sense of belonging within community and a sense of like family first and community first, and the individual is almost forgotten about.
Yeah.
And I see them both as kind of extremes.
Yes.
And like I'd say that even within the way that we see Eastern countries, there's a lot of people who are so abundantly happy living with nothing. Like so content and not necessarily striving for more.
Yes.
And that being beautiful. And then seeing Western countries where there's this beautiful like challenge and chasing after and beautiful building and growth and this like, yes, we can do incredible things, and seeing the beauty that's come out of that as well. But obviously that gets taken to the extreme too, of like continually chasing after things. And so looking at those two contrasts and going, okay, community and independence, both beautiful, like being still and chasing after, both beautiful. How do we find the nuance and the balance of that middle ground where we can go, okay, I can have a strong sense of identity and a strong sense of community. I can have a strong sense of being still and being at peace and a strong sense of let's go.
I'm sort of caveating the conversation because when I think of independence, I think of it as a protector. I want to be independent. I want to control my own world. I don't want you to have an input in, and it's keeping me safe.
Totally. And I can totally see that in the self-protective sense. And it makes so much sense.
So then when we're thinking about it, we don't want to be too black and white and be like independence is wrong, but as relational beings, connection is what we are made for.
Yeah.
So in that sense, is this dream of independence actually just harming us and destroying us?
Well, it's the idea, if we were to take our vision of what independence looks like and drop it into any culture in history, would it look normal or would it look weird?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Because if we were to track it back to like caveman days, independence was like almost a death wish.
Yeah.
You couldn't survive by yourself. You needed community. And then as communities grew, they were built on having kind of the specialist of different people, and that meant that if one person was going to be the blacksmith, they had to rely on the farmers to produce enough food.
Yeah, we all worked together,
and so they were all working together in community. And I think part of what bound people together was the greater story that bound them together as well. Yes. And I'm so grateful for faith as having given us a greater sense of story. But I can see how. And I guess history tracks with this. If you go back to the Enlightenment and this idea that suddenly actually we as humans could know everything, we could discover everything. There was truth that could be sought out and searched out, and that actually we could truth our way to God, which then kind of goes, well, I can become God in the sense that I can know truth, and then it becomes my truth, and my truth then becomes my identity. And I've lost all connection to something greater than me. And so then, what's my reference point anymore?
Well, and also what a horrible way to live. If you're God of your own life, that's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. Yeah.
And we've lost a sense of mystery in that as well.
Yes.
That we aren't all knowing. We're created human beings.
Totally.
And that there is a beauty to that, a release, a relief of it not having to be all up to us.
Yeah. Well, I think it's as well, like if you look at that, I know truth from that relational perspective, I then know why you're acting the way you are. And I'm going to place a judgment on you because of the way that you're acting.
You're creating a good and a bad.
Absolutely.
Because you're the judger.
Yeah. Which immediately creates division in relationship. And I guess we're seeing that played out so much in the online space through the ideological buckets that we put people in.
Yes.
And it's, if you hold this belief, then you're that kind of person. Or not even that kind of person, you are that person.
Yes.
And it's horrendous.
Well, it's bad if you happen to change your mind.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're ostracized and you don't have a community. So it again, I think we talked a little bit about this in maybe the last episode, of seeing the worth in people's identity and who they are as people, as opposed to what they even believe.
Yep.
Obviously, belief is linked to, well, is it? As I'm thinking about it, because I'm thinking if you believe a certain thing, maybe I believe that then you don't value human life, or you don't value, like, I've created a story and a narrative about the type of person you are without getting curious, because I just, No,
it is such a curious one because, well, let me take that back. So much the issue comes then with our discomfort of asking a question.
Yes.
And
but do you think that's also, there's so much fear. Now, if you ask a question because it's linked to your identity, you ask a question, you're suddenly labeled as good or bad. Yeah. And so we're not having dialogue, we're not having conversations, and we're losing out on community.
Which is where, again, we look at the online space and you go, well, it's very easy to say big statements online and then disconnect. And you don't
there's
have
my boundary. Boom, I'm out of here.
You don't have to suffer the repercussions.
And you don't have to, I mean, you inevitably do unless you turn off comments or something. But you don't get to work it out. You don't get to have the repair and rub up against discomfort.
Yeah.
So we become a group of people who cannot handle discomfort.
So I guess that comes back to what you were talking about with this independence, feeling like it's a self-protective thing rather than it being kind of an autonomous, beautiful thing. And again, that independence being a self-protective thing makes so much sense. If we start looking at discomfort as a problem and going, oh no, like
avoid it at all costs.
I've got to avoid that at all costs, rather than it actually just being feedback. I mean, you could even say like discomfort feels like a boundary violation.
Yes.
And my strong sense of independence being like, no, I need to put in strong boundaries. When actually that's probably just your relational capacities pretty low.
Or your ability to sit with discomfort or disagreements or conflict.
Well, I mean, disagreement becomes identity threat.
Right.
It's this like, oh no, I can't hold that, because if what they're saying's possibly true, I've lost all sense of who I am.
I think it's more, if it's an identity threat, it's a loss of relationship based on who you are. It's a rejection. It's tugging on deep core wounds that some of us carry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we were to take that even a step further, any sense of obligation that's placed on us, rather than it feeling like I get to, it's you're saying I have to or I should. And that's an immediate loss of freedom.
So I've really struggled with this lately, because there's a lot of meal trains going around at the moment and a lot of people needing help. Yeah. I don't cook, so immediately this is just tricky for me. But I was reflecting on it actually with you and saying that I feel this big resistance every time someone puts out the new meal train, like I have to do something, and it makes me angry. And I think part of it is following that thought, if I don't do this, then I'm going to be seen as something.
Yes.
Or they're going to reject me, or they're going to think I don't care, and feeling pretty frozen and stuck, and then how I work that out.
Yeah.
And if that's me, I'm sure other people can relate to it. I think because I just feel like Christians, particularly when they're doing the right thing and they're doing the good thing, that it is sometimes a self-abandonment. It is, I've got to put on this big, beautiful show to look like I'm the right person. And I mean, obviously that's a judgment of them from me, right? Because this isn't, how could I know their intentions? And that's not even up to me anyway. But it's just, it rubs me up the wrong way. I've seen it in you, in what we've been working through, your need to be...
Well, I did, because that gave me a sense of identity. And if I wasn't doing, it was like, I'm not actually worth loving.
Right. And I saw it as you looking like the perfect person, but I knew underneath you were struggling. And so it felt damaging to me, because you end up having a mental breakdown. So I look at all these beautiful Christians doing all these kind things, and I'm like, what part of you is this actually unhealthy?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that is a really challenging one, because again, if we're judging people based off what we see, We just don't know.
Totally. The follow through, like I'm not saying this is this is where I'm landing. This is just some of the like
it's really
deep internal, deep internal dialogue of going, whoa, I have big judgments around people being selfless and kind at the moment. That really annoys me.
Yeah.
There is also in your trigger brain, you are looking for black or white. You're looking for right or wrong. And so I'm looking at these situations being like, who's being good and who's being bad, which is an indication to me of something that's fired off in me. And this is also the wrestle of community. If I'm not in community, I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to deal with feeling bad that I'm not giving food on the meal train. I could just do my own thing and walk away. But I know that community is essential not only for my well-being, but I want to be selfless. I want to love the people around us. That is society working at its best. Absolutely. That we all get in and help each other. So it's just this big wrestle, I think.
Yeah. Well, we don't grow unless we've got that pushback. And I think that like you can apply that to so many different aspects of life, but like muscle development only happens under strain. Like,
so we're learning to be part of community.
And as a quick side note here, isn't it wild that we can be typing totally outrageous things into ChatGPT now and it goes, oh, wow, you're so clever. Like, that's such a wonderful thing that you're saying. And it's like, no, it's awful. It's totally dumb, but it's so self-affirming and so like just validating the internal truth and not actually pushing back and going, hey, have you thought about this? Hey, have you considered these angles? Hey, have you actually thought through? And look, I mean, this is one of the things that I've done with our ChatGPT is gone, no, push back. Like, don't just accept our ideas as truth, but actually show us other perspectives because we want to continually be growing and learning as a nice little aside.
That's a very side note.
So if we come back then, we're framing independence as a bad thing here.
Do you think it is a bad thing though?
I think there's a healthy independence. I think a healthy sense of independence comes with a sense of agency. So like I'm actually in control of my life to a degree. It comes with a sense of autonomy of I get to choose into things.
Like a powerfulness. It's the opposite of victim mentality.
And it's the opposite of kind of the way that I operated for a long time, which is I have to, I should. And it becomes...
So you're talking healthy independence.
Healthy independence is I get to and I want to. And I guess it then comes with a sense of ownership because if you've got this external motivator saying, I should be doing this, I have to be doing this, I'm not owning that at all. I'm just doing that because that's what I've got to do. Yeah. And if that external motivation's gone,
won't do it.
No. And I mean, we've seen this in schooling with our girls and educating. It's like, if we're the ones pushing them, sure, they'll do it. But then if we take that pressure off, they're not going to do it at all.
Yeah.
It's trying to build in them a sense of internal motivation and internal ownership over themselves.
Yeah. And a huge motivator is this feeling of belonging and community.
Yeah.
So the very thing their hearts are longing for and we as humans long for is the motivator.
Yeah.
That we're a team and we're doing it together.
Absolutely. And so like if we were then to look at that healthy independence, what does that look like if we then translate that into community? Because I guess we've seen community done well and we've seen community done real messy. So I would say so many communities are so good at sacrificing themselves at the foot of the greater good for all. And there is obviously a time and a place where self-sacrifice is necessary because of what's happening for the team, for the community, for the group.
But you can't stay in that place.
You can't stay in that place. Nobody can sustain that. None of us are gods in our own right. And so the beauty of community is that we get to take turns in those spaces. And as we step in with a sense of, no, I have ownership in this space and I can love and care for and sacrifice parts of me and trust that the others in the community are going to come in with the same intention and the same sense of, no, I'm going to sacrifice for you because I know that you'll do the same for me.
So there's a couple of things then to having successful community.
Yeah.
It's number one, putting yourself out there. It's risking being seen and being known.
Well, and I would say to that, so often we're waiting for the safe people to show up, for somebody who makes us feel seen and known.
Yes.
What if we were that person?
For ourselves. Yes.
For ourselves and then for one other person.
So we were safe for other people.
Yeah.
And safe for ourselves. Yeah. Which is I love this because I think especially like in mum communities, we're trying to find the village or whatever.
Yeah.
And looking for the perfect village doesn't exist. You just take what's around you and you love it. And you allow yourself to be loved by it. And for sure, there are toxic circles and family or friends. There needs to be a hard line boundary. We're not talking to that today. We're talking to what it takes to be to show up healthily in community. And the first step is not waiting.
Yeah.
For the perfect one.
No, well, and removing that idea of perfect very quickly, because it's going to get messy fast.
Yeah, even if you think you found the perfect community, you have not.
No. And so I think one of the biggest things that we keep coming back to is this idea that we're going to get it wrong. That's like not a question. We will.
Yeah.
And so what are we going to do about it?
Yeah, so then I think, and potentially these are future topics we talk on, but good conflict resolution, ability to speak up in a kind way and be a safe place for yourself. I think that the starting point is really understanding your internal world.
Yeah.
So that you can, even if at the very least you're not growing in bitterness and anger, and when something offends you, suddenly you don't just either cut them out or you just see this breakdown in relationship, which we've been a part of.
Yeah. Well, it's the relational humility to go, I don't know, or maybe I got it wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, could you help me understand? And just starting to ask those more curious questions, which I know we're learning. We're practicing this at the moment as we grow a community here.
On ideas of how people can make friends, when we were traveling, there were online communities where we did meetups around the world. We would go find a church in the country that we were in. Now that we're home, our kids are homeschooled, so we're looking for homeschool meetups.
Families and meetups.
This is all just uncomfortable. It's like when you move to a new city, you have to put yourself out there. And again, talking about not waiting for somebody else, what if you were the person to open your doors and bravely say, hey, I'm having a barbecue, come on over? Like, what if we were the ones not waiting around for other people to invite us places, but we confidently stepped into places? And I know that is so difficult. Everything in me is like, no, thanks.
And I love it when you say confidence. It's like this, no, I'm going to be courageous here. I am terrified and I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Which is what courage is.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So I guess something I also want to add to this, and we've kind of alluded to it in a few different ways, but what we've seen community centered around so often, when it's done in a more healthy way, is that idea of something greater than ourselves.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen communities gathered around all sorts of different things. Like the communities that we've been a part of online have been around shared healing and around shared growth.
Or world schooling.
Or we've stepped into church communities and that's around faith. We see communities that have sprung up around particular issues. We've seen like all sorts of different things or different cultural backgrounds and people naturally gather in things that are similar to them or shared areas of concern. And I think having something outside of ourselves that draws us together is such a huge thing, as long as that thing doesn't start to spark division between us, or we hold so rigidly to a set of beliefs that we then have to ostracize or push other people out because we feel that they're not agreeing.
And it can be difficult to do that sometimes because people's opinions are so closely linked to their worth and who they are as a person.
Yeah.
It takes a second to step back and look underneath it and see the commonalities in our humanity. That is the thing that binds us all together, right?
Yeah. Yeah. One other thing that I guess has caught me a few times is the way that our independence often removes a sense of greater story from us. And this is
we're losing it, aren't we?
We are.
That's really sad.
This is something that we've intentionally tried to seek out as we've traveled with our girls, is reconnecting them to the stories of our history.
Yes.
So we've traveled to our childhood homes. We've traveled to
ancestral,
our parents' childhood homes, and then to our grandparents' childhood homes, even our great-grandparents' childhood homes, which it's been amazing, number one, but for our girls to be able to see that they're not just themselves. They're not just a individual within this kind of enormous world, but they're actually connected to a much deeper story that goes 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 generations back.
And as a side note, the stats around this of kids understanding even their own parents' history, and like us talking about our own childhoods and about Grammy and Papa's childhood and things like that, it creates such a sense of belonging in them, a confidence. Those children have a higher self-esteem.
Yep.
They have less mental health issues.
Yep. A greater sense of purpose.
It's crazy. So basically you should be sitting around the table talking about all your family history.
Yeah.
And you think of Indigenous cultures.
Yeah.
So much of their around the fire time or whatever was storytelling, and we're losing it in this society because we're too busy.
Yes.
We're not sitting at a table. We're not talking. We're just moving from one thing to the next.
Well, and I want to add to that as well. This sense of story comes with a challenge because our ancestors were not clean people.
Some of them weren't, no.
No, well, none of them were. They were human.
But I mean, like, some of the stories are pretty
horrific at times.
Yeah.
And so sharing story and I guess broader cultural stories have become challenging. And I mean, here in Australia, it's really difficult looking at white colonial history in light of Indigenous history. And
you just don't want to get it wrong. You don't want to say the wrong thing.
And unfortunately, there's such a almost a demonization of the white colonial history here. And how do we actually step into that conversation holding the nuance? Because yes, it's messy. And yes, there was absolute atrocities done. There was horrendous things. And it's brought a whole different...
Well, it's part of the story.
It's part of the story. And we can't remove it. We can't atone for it now because it's past. But we can recognize it and we can hold the balance of it. And we don't have to demonize one side or the other. We don't have to triumphantly talk about one side or the other.
I guess the nuance of it all too, of because both obviously our heritage came over from the UK, looking at and explaining to the girls what colonization did to Australia, and also seeing the people that are their ancestors, the lives they were living at the time is important, and it's an important thing to talk about anyway. Otherwise, history repeats itself.
Absolutely.
It's important to honour the sacrifices that our ancestors made, who fought in the war and who travelled. You know, my mum came over on a boat with a teddy and a dress. Like, that was it. She, and she was 3 at the time.
And so the challenge with all of this broader cultural history is, can we remove our sense of offence or our strongly rooted sense of positive framing of everything and sit with the balance of it and go, wow, like, it was beautiful, it was messy, it was like grievous, and it was an incredible gift. Like, both can be true, and we can look at it and then we can go, okay, how can we grow? How can we actually, as a community, come together and be a people who love deeply and love well, who accept the limitations of our humanity and the ability to show up, well, not at all perfectly, and go, okay, let's continue life together.
Yeah, it's a good start to a conversation about community and some big topics we've covered today.
Yeah. So I guess as takeaways from today, a couple of things. Independence is not all it's cracked up to be. Neither is community. And so we've got to hold both in balance. Independence can be beautiful, and it's necessary to have a strong sense of who I am and ownership over our lives, a sense of I get to choose.
Yeah.
And I also get to choose then into community. And community being such a strong sense of our identity, our story, our safety, because that's we're built to do community together, and it takes challenge.
Yeah.
But probably the big things then is discomfort doesn't mean we need to run away. Discomfort maybe means that we need to sit for a moment. Maybe it means that we need to be a little courageous and invite some people over for dinner.
Let some people in, be a bit seen
just
and
a little
vulnerable.
bit. Maybe it means we need to have a soft, humble conversation.
Yeah.
And admit that maybe we got it wrong. Maybe we didn't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot to cover here, and we're going to continue these conversations.
Yes.
So if you've got any questions or you've got any thoughts, please send us a comment, send us a message, like, subscribe, share these episodes, and we'll talk soon.
Bye.